know you were here for the Caravan show, that big festival on the
Yes.
That was like part of your big breakout year, right? That was an exciting time.
It was killer. And actually, it's funny because we keep coming back to Atlantic City, sometimes for our own entertainment and sometimes to be entertaining for other people. But we've got 2 band members from Bergen County. So you guys, we're not far off. And so whenever we're visiting family in Jersey, we try to take a trek down there. And we just went, again, to the same site that we had done Dave Matthews Caravan at, and ended up watching our buddies Fish play last summer, which was killer. And then going to the which casino did we go to? Oh my gosh, it was the Caesars, I think, or something. Not Caesars. Yeah, Caesars.
Cool.
I don't know. We caused all kinds of trouble. That's all I remember.
Well, let's hear more about that.
Yeah. I mean, I can tell. I'm a roulette girl myself, so I've been known to go pretty deep in the roulette table. So if you're ever looking to get into trouble, look around the roulette table, and I'll probably be there.
Okay, I'll keep that in mind. Now, these last years have been kind of a whirlwind. You sort of were, and probably people thought like you're an overnight sensation, but of course it took a lot of years to get to that point. So, how does the experience seem to you? Since you kind of became more of a household name.
It's funny because when you're in it, it doesn't feel like any of this is sort of hard-earned or easily earned. It just feels like life. It feels like what we've been working for a really long time. And there's certainly days where, it's hard and you're like, wow, I, have a lot to do, and it can be overwhelming, or a lot of pressure, a lot of nerves. But also, I was just as nervous performing in front of 15 people at a bar in 2003, so every day is a milestone in its own way. And, I think because we've taken that approach to being a band for so many years, it's made it easier. And plus, the other thing that's made it easier is the fact that I have a band. I have these dear friends and family members who have supported me and been a part of it from the beginning. I think it's a much lonelier place for a solo artist, or sort of a pop princess. It can be a very lonely career choice, but I've had a little help from my friends all along, so that certainly made it much more fun and more well earned.
So when you were approaching recording the new album, did you feel the pressure of expectations, or did you try and put that aside? Or?
I think if there was any pressure, it was coming from me. I was really hard on myself about the songs, and I was really hard on myself about the timing. I really wanted to dive right into the studio, and felt like, giving myself this wide berth and spending months writing a record would be torture. And I thought, a better approach this time around would be to write as I go. And I was dead wrong, and it was a really bad idea. Because I was also co-producing the record and bringing my bandmates in while I was still in a creative process myself, which sometimes is great. I mean, the guys are wonderful songwriters themselves, and all the ideas were flowing, and the band was coming up with some really great music. But at the heart of it, I wasn't confident in the direction that I had chosen for the record. It was feeling pretty commercial and feeling pretty... like there were some compromises being made, whether we even heard it or knew it or not. A lot of those compromises were internal. And it's funny, I always say, that being in the studio is very much like brain surgery, and being on tour is like, being in art class with finger paints. It's
right.
All the fun comes when you get to perform it and when you get to play and create without any of that pressure from the studio. So there's a whole psychological side to it, which I don't really know a lot about, but I do know it affects me deeply when I get into the studio. So hopefully it's an affectation that'll go away as time goes on. Oh, I'm so prodigiously proud of this record. It's ridiculous. When you torture yourself over something and then it doesn't turn out, which has happened before, I'm really hard on myself, so I was just so relieved to feel like this record was everything I wanted it to be. And it does. When you listen to it, it reads a lot like a mixtape, because that's where my mind was at. It was influences weren't coming so much from the outside as from within, and the band also really brought about a sense of unity because we were in the midst of bringing in a new bass player. We were in the midst of actually changing around instruments, and everyone in the band picking up new pieces of gear. Like Scott, our lead guitarist, was playing a lot of keyboards, and Benny, our rhythm guitarist and a phenomenal sort of front man in his own right, was all of a sudden playing the bass, and I was playing the drums, and it was just like, Matt Burr, our drummer, was, singing vocals for the first time, and there was a lot of risks being taken, for all of us as musicians. So, and then when Michael came in, things really gelled, and we just started playing as a band again. So when I hear this record, that's what I hear. I hear a band coming together, not a band stitching things together, from the pieces.
And on the road, as I gather, you're incorporating the songs into the set, and how are they working with everything else?
Oh my God, it's like clockwork. I have to say, I mean, when I wrote The Lion, the Beast, the Beat, the song, I knew that it was going to be a fun one to do live, but it's turned into such a barn burner that sometimes when we open the show with it, I'm like, what are we going to do now? I really enjoy the art of recreating music for people in front of them. And so there's the studio version, and then there's everything that comes after that. And in our case, in our circumstance, there's a lot more time after the recording than there is leading up to the recording to kind of reinvent these songs. And what's great about this record is that we haven't really needed to change them very much. They are what they are, and the way that we recorded them has actually maintained to a degree. So far, it's only been out for a few months, so who knows, things might change again. But it's been really rewarding to see the songs just kind of holding up against everything.
Yeah, and how about Paris Ooh La La? Are you still in love with that song, or do you just?
Oh yeah, it's still.
Don't get tired of it. Yeah.
No, we performed it today at a radio show. It's so funny because. The second I wrote it, it's just a fun song. I wrote it knowing it was just one of those songs that's like, it sort of manifests itself in a lot of different ways depending on whether we're doing an acoustic or live or at the beginning of the show or at the end of the show. There's all kinds of different reactions to it, but no matter what, it's just a barn burn and take your top off, stomp your feet, and sing at the top of your lungs kind of song, and you can't go wrong with one of those.
And I read somewhere just now that you, some of the songs that have inspired you over the years, and they all seem like they were, this list anyway, had all classic rock and some, I think there's a Frank Sinatra song. So is that sort of what you draw from when you more of sort of, the classic kind of songs, or?
I do. It's funny. I think it's got to do with making pop music. Sometimes when I'm in a creative mode, I don't like to listen to pop music because I think sometimes it can cloud your vision of your goals. So what I end up doing is I listen to a lot of Duke Ellington, a lot of Louis Armstrong, a lot of Billie Holiday and Edith Piaf and Dean Martin, and it's funny because you wouldn't think that to hear a lick of what we're playing, but it's my happy place. It's like where I go when I'm trying not to think about my life outside, and sort of, and not to say that music is a job, but this is my career anyway. So sometimes listening to pop music kind of stresses me out and makes me think about pop music too much.
Right. And have you gotten to meet anyone, obviously not Duke Ellington, some of the people you mentioned, because they're all no longer with us, but if you got to meet anybody you idolized or someone who inspired you, and during these past few years when you've been kind of doing these more high-profile things, have you had any of those moments when you get to talk to someone that you didn't think you'd ever get to meet or anything like that?
Oh, God. I had a great conversation just recently with Bruce Coburn, who, he's just one of those guys who inspired from many years ago, and has some connections back to Vermont, and I've always loved his songwriting. John Hyatt as well. I met John Hyatt at the Love for Levon benefit, and that was a really wonderful opportunity for me to connect with some huge stars and everyone in between who just wanted to show our love for Levon Helm, who I'm not sure if you know, but he passed away. He was the drummer from the band.
Yes, of course.
Huge influence. So that night was kind of overwhelming because there were so many great artists, and I had a great conversation with Roger Waters about pop music now versus pop music then, and how many things have changed. And one of my great heroes of all time, many years ago, in a great little theater in Connecticut, and she remembered me, and I was so honored that she remembered me because this woman lives her life from gig to gig and from studio to studio and meets everyone. And she just came up and she said, "Honey child, where you been?" I was like, wow, oh my gosh, this is just overwhelming. And a lot of inspiration comes from some of my heroes who I hope to never meet because I love them too much to ever want to meet them. I would be afraid of Bruce Springsteen. I don't think I would want to meet him. I mean, I do. I met Neil Young, and that went really well. So hopefully, Bruce, maybe someday. I don't know. There's just a lot of like myth and legend, and some of that stuff I like to keep romantic. I think it's fun to meet your heroes, but sometimes it's more fun to just let them be your heroes.
Right. Sure, I know what you mean. So, and as far as the rest of the year, are you going to be on the road most of the year? What are the plans?
Yeah, we're actually, we're taking, the Roar Tour is actually going from where we're in Fargo right now, and then we'll be in, well, anyways, we finished the U.S. I don't really know where.
That's fine. Just tell me.
From there, we wind up in Europe, and this is going to be our first major European tour, and we're touring with our really good buddies, the Avett Brothers, in Europe. Then we head to Australia, and we're playing with Robert Plant and Iggy Pop and Wilco and a bunch of killer bands at a couple of music festivals down in Australia. And then we kind of round it out in April and chill out a little bit. I'm playing a couple of private events, but the band is going to just relax and go home and be with their girlfriends and chill, which will be really nice for them. And hopefully maybe, I'll start writing a little bit. And then we kick it back up in the summer. We continue touring on the Lion, the Beast, the Beat until, I believe we tour until late September, early October. And then we'll dive into another album.
Wow, sounds like a full year.
Yeah, it's funny when you've got your entire docket laid out for you until 2014. It's like, okay, I know what I'm doing.
Right. Just tell me when to show up,
Yeah, exactly.
Well, Grace, I think we're just about out of time. So thanks for taking time out to chat, and look forward to having you back in AC once again. Okay.
It was such a pleasure talking to you. We can't wait to get to Atlantic City and throw it around, man. It's going to be fun.
Okay, great. Sounds good. Look for you at the roulette table.
All right, I'll see you at the roulette table.
Okay. Sounds great.
Okay.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.